Ladies and gentlemen, I can sit here today and officially announce that AEW Rampage is canceled off of TNT. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, man. It is gone and hopefully never to return. Also, WWE is in the midst of yet another major scandal that hits high up on the food chain. We'll go over what that is and who is involved today on Off the Script, and more international shows where we could potentially see WWE have an international PLE in Mexico for 2025. All this and so much more on your Christmas Eve edition of Off the Script, December 24th, 2024. We will start with AEW Rampage. Tony Khan confirms that AEW Rampage is finished. The end has finally come for AEW's depressing Friday night program. It's been a point of discussion since the announcement of AEW's new media rights deal, and Tony Khan finally confirmed the news at the Hammerstein Ballroom taping on Sunday, which is basically Dynamite's, I think, Christmas show, right? It's not the final show of the year. Christmas show for 2024. After 3 years on the air, Rampage is coming to an end. According to fans in attendance at Sunday's Dynamite taping, Khan made the announcement to the live crowd, making sure to note that it was the last episode for the foreseeable future for AEW Rampage, and that it could potentially leave the door open for a return of the branding or of the show, which I think would be ridiculous. If it's over, let it die. That's how I feel. That's my mentality on Rampage. The final Rampage will air this Friday and had 4 matches taped, including matches featuring Private Party, Thunder Rosa, and Hook. Now, the show's biggest match saw Chris Jericho defeat Anthony Bowens. Oh, my God, man. I gave away a spoiler, man. I'm sorry, whoever. Oh, one of the wackos out there that didn't want to be spoiled on Rampage, man. I'm sorry, man. I'm assuming that they'll maybe draw a decent rating for Rampage, but nobody gives a fuck. Anthony Bowens lost to Chris Jericho, though Jericho's Ring of Honor World Championship in this match was not on the line. Sunday's taping was the third and final day of AEW's brief little run at the Hammerstein Ballroom here in New York City, a smaller venue within the Manhattan Center. Friday's Ring of Honor and their show Final Battle took place there, and Saturday's Collision also took place there. It drew positive reactions from fans in attendance and watching at home, with the belief that the tapings mark a shift for AEW as they begin to utilize smaller buildings. And you can see how that is working in AEW's favor because the acoustics sound better, the energy sounds better, the buildings just look better on television, where I could actually see the people in attendance instead of 98% darkened crowds where I don't know who's in attendance. So I think it's been going very well for AEW, especially coming out of last Wednesday's show on Dynamite in Washington, D.C. I forgot the name of the place, but they taped where the Washington Mystics play basketball, and they filled 3,000 people in a 4,000-seat venue. It's a lot better than fitting 3,000 people in a fucking 20,000-seat venue like they were doing for most of this year. Now, though Rampage will be gone, rumors have been floating around for months that AEW is in talks with another media company in addition to Warner Brothers Discovery about a new show. Fox has often come up in discussion, and they trademarked the term Shockwave several months back, leading to speculation that it could be the name of a new series. However, there have been no official announcements as of yet. Somebody in the comments section, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't really know for sure. I don't know if AEW Rampage was a Tony Khan idea or if this was a Warner Brothers Discovery idea, and they wanted this extra hour instead of tacking it on to Dynamite at 3 hours, which I don't think Tony Khan wanted to do anyway. Tony was never in favor of 3 hours of Dynamite, and I don't think the fan base wants 3 hours of Dynamite either. So I'm thinking along the lines of that this was a 1 hour idea from Warner Brothers Discovery execs and not really Tony Khan. So someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. Was this a Tony idea or was this a Warner idea? I do believe it was a Warner idea. Tony booked it really good for the first, I would say, 3 months when Punk got there. I mean, it felt important. We watched it. We even covered it at some points. On the SmackDown Post, we used to cover it. Jesse used to do watch-alongs. And then after the first year, you just start to see the quality dip and the importance of the show basically wither away into nothing. The show was a depressing watch at 1 hour, and where we see it today in 2024, it is one of the worst 1 hours of pro wrestling television in the entire space. The show was basically used to get enhancement talent on the show just to fill 1 hour of television, and Tony clearly didn't give a shit about what he put on the show. It was a variety hour. You saw people from AEW, you saw people from Ring of Honor. It really didn't matter who was on the show because the show never progressed any storylines. It never pushed any storylines forward. This 1 hour was basically used as a way for Tony Khan to get talent who's been asking for TV time, no matter who it is. It was just largely unimportant and depressing, and nobody was watching it at the 10 p.m. time slot on a Friday night. I mean, it was just dead to rights at that time slot, even from the beginning days. It was not going to last. So AEW getting rid of this is great. Because all it was basically, remember the AEW Dark shows, AEW Dark Elevation? Those shows were canceled off of YouTube. And AEW didn't have any more content going up on YouTube, so they took those concepts and basically adopted AEW Rampage as the new AEW Dark. And Ring of Honor TV on Thursdays is basically AEW Dark Elevation. That's all that it is. So people were upset that those shows went away. They didn't. Those shows did not go away because they got reincarnated as AEW Rampage and Ring of Honor TV. And this is a great move. Now, I don't know what Shockwave is going to bring, or if Shockwave's a real deal show. I have no idea. But if it's going to be on Fox and they're going to have another 1 hour show, again, I largely think it's going to be a waste of time. And I feel like Tony needs to approach this as 1A and 1B. Collision, even on Saturdays, is dead. And I won't be surprised if Collision is next to get the axe. It's a dead IP. And I'm being brutally honest with you. It's a dead show. They could put however many banger matches on a Saturday night. The show is not generating the interest that it needs to on a Saturday night 8 p.m. time slot. It's not. Saturday night's a big night for sports, whether it's basketball, whether it's college football during the season, whether it's the baseball playoffs and baseball during the MLB season, UFC once a month, twice a month, WWE now. Collision is just constantly fighting an uphill battle. It's never going to be what it set out to be, and that was the AEW B show, the true B show to Dynamite. It's dead. No matter what you want to think of it, no matter how many great moments came off the show in the 1 year that it's been on TV, no matter how many banger matches Tony wants to put on a random Saturday night, nobody cares. And for the most part in 2024, again, Collision has become a variety hour, and you start to see Tony booking Collision the same way he's booked Rampage. No rhyme or reason. Matches just take place for the sake of taking place. No meaning behind anything that happens on that show. Storylines barely get filtered through Collision. Everything should and does get filtered through Dynamite. All the biggest things happen on Dynamite. They've been operating under an unofficial soft brand split. You see some talent only be featured on Collision and not on Dynamite. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the show wants to be. I don't. So I would not be surprised if Collision is actually next to get axed. But what they really need to do, if they could, is move Collision to Thursday and have Wednesday's Dynamite and Collision on Thursday, or whatever the B show is going to be, whether it's Collision or Shockwave, have it be on a Thursday. Collision be 2 hours. Dynamite be 2 hours. This Rampage show, or whatever, this Shockwave show, in light of Rampage getting canceled, maybe that ends up taking the 1 hour time slot that Rampage used to have on another night. I have no idea. We don't even know if it's a real thing. But AEW truly needs a B show. And with Rampage going away, Collision needs to be booked as the true B show for AEW and needs to take on a little bit more of an importance for the company. But Rampage going away is great. It meant nothing. It did nothing. The talent, I guarantee you, half the fucking talent that was booked for the show didn't want to work the show because they want to do something a little bit more meaningful. And it was only the leftover scraps at the table during dinner time. That's what AEW Rampage was. And a lot of people were just given TV time for the sake of TV time with no rhyme or reason, no importance whatsoever. And it's done. Goodbye. I can't wait to see it go goodbye once and for all. Great move. International pay-per-views for WWE are going to be even more so in 2025. Notable PLEs outside the United States happening this year were the Elimination Chamber. That was Perth, Australia. Money in the Bank in Canada. Bash in Berlin at the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Berlin, Germany. Survivor Series in Vancouver, British Columbia. WWE's got to deal with Saudi Arabia to hold 2 PLEs each year for a 10-year contract that they have in place with Saudi Arabia. Now, the cities wanting the international events paid WWE a site fee to host the shows there. WWE's Executive Vice President of Talent Relations and Head of Communications, Chris Legentil, stated that the move and the intention is to get more international shows in 2025. He mentioned this to the Sports Business Journal and Sports Media Podcast. He says this year alone, we did more than half of our PLEs outside the United States. Look for more of that when we are in partnership with Netflix, because we're going to be working with them hand in hand to select locations across the world where we can grow our audience and hopefully gain some subscribers for them. Meaning, this could mean PLEs, which is always a great deal. I like to see the difference in the United States and international crowds when WWE does these major shows. And it's also reported that WWE, when they do tape a Raw or SmackDown, in this case Raw because Raw's on Netflix, SmackDown's probably still going to have a tape delay because they're on the USA Network, and they will tape earlier in the afternoon and then air live East Coast at normal time. So they will still be on a tape delay. But if Monday Night Raw is going international, which they are, and those shows are going to be taking place in the beginning of March, WWE said that Netflix is open to airing them live on the platform at 2 or 3 p.m. whenever they air here in the United States, and you can watch it live on Netflix instead of waiting till 8 p.m. to watch the tape delay, which I think is a great deal. It's going to be a different take on how we do content. It's going to be a different take on watching Monday Night Raw just in general. You know, we're so used to watching it at 8 p.m. every Monday. Monday Night Raw, 3 p.m. on the East Coast because they're overseas in the United Kingdom. I think that's a great feel. It's going to be different, but it's something that we're going to definitely get used to over the 5 years. So I think that's a great move because it prevents us from reading the spoilers or getting the show spoiled for us because of fucking geeks online that can't help themselves, and everything will remain fresh, especially on the Monday Night Raw side. Like I said, SmackDown will still be on tape delay because they're on the USA Network. Now, the rumor is that WWE, this is according to Dave Meltzer, which I do believe this is the case, there is at least talk of doing a pay-per-view next year in Mexico City, which I think would be a great deal. WWE's got a lot of great Mexican talent. Dragon Lee, Rey Mysterio. They're bringing in Pentagon Jr. They're going to be bringing in Rey Fénix when his contract is up. Andrade, Santos Escobar, Dominic Mysterio, all of the LWO. Zelina Vega. We got, Los Garzas. There's a lot of great Mexican talent in WWE. Zelina Vega, I know, is Puerto Rican. She's part of the LWO. But that is going to be a great get for them if they get Mexico City. And to feature that type of talent in some prominent way, I think that's going to be a dream come true for some of those talents. It's going to be a great watch for us fans. And who knows what type of stories WWE would tell going into a major Mexico City arena show. I think that would be fucking phenomenal. So we got that to potentially look forward to. And right now, WWE, as of right now, and what's confirmed, is that the Elimination Chamber is taking place in Canada in March. Obviously, that is the only one announced outside of the Saudi shows that will happen twice per year. So WWE is looking to add more international flair to their PLEs, and I don't think that necessarily is a bad idea. The only thing I would request is that these shows sometimes feel like filler shows. They feel like B-level pay-per-views. I think WWE should up the importance of these shows instead of going into these shows safe. So we will see what happens there with WWE going into 2025. We got a major scandal rocking WWE and reports of misconduct allegations on WWE's head of production, Lee Fitting. This is going around the WWE right now and not really a good look at all. As part of 2023, early 2024, WWE's executive shakeup at WWE following Endeavor's acquisition of the company and the formation of TKO Group Holdings, WWE's longtime production head Kevin Dunn exited the company. Now, he did not want to take orders from anybody, and when Vince was basically removed, there was nothing that Kevin Dunn was going to do because I don't really think anybody wanted Kevin Dunn there anymore. So he didn't want to listen to the new group. He had a whole bunch of new people that were going to be giving him orders and wanting things done their way, and he didn't want things done their way. He wanted things done his way, and Kevin Dunn, he basically went into retirement. And the company's been better off for it since. He was replaced by Lee Fitting, another television industry veteran who made his name over more than 2 decades for ESPN, perhaps most notably as the person responsible for the network's influential, successful College Game Day show. Now, Fitting's August 2023 departure from ESPN was described as a sudden one that shocked staffers and media alike. It made him available to WWE, and his hiring as their new head of media and production came in January of 2024. Days after that, reports linked Fitting's mysterious ESPN exit to a scheme at the network where fake names were submitted for Emmy Awards in order to obtain statuettes for on-air talent who were not eligible to win them under Emmy rules. As punishment for his role in the plan, Fitting is now said to be ineligible to win Emmys moving forward. They would put fake names on the ballot, and these fake names would win these statuettes, and then they would replace the fake name on the statuette with the person that they wanted to legitimately give the statuette to. I mean, people are just fucking ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. It's laughable that people go to those lengths to do something like that. But that's apparently only one reason for Fitting's fall from grace at ESPN. A new story out this week, which was from The Athletic and then picked up by, obviously, other major outlets, New York Post and all New York Times, and everybody picked up on this story. The Athletic says ESPN dismissed its former golden boy, Lee Fitting, after an investigation into past misconduct with female employees, which was prompted by a 2023 HR complaint. Some of the allegations include discussing why he believed a woman who didn't work for ESPN and was not present would be good at fellatio while watching the NCAA basketball tournament at a conference room at company headquarters in 2012. So we're going back 12 years for allegations. The Athletic verified this story with an ESPN employee who was present. Fitting denies, obviously, that this happened, offering his lap as a seat to a female staffer in 2014 at a production meeting. This was verified by a person in the room, and another person the female staffer told about the incident. Fitting denies, of course, the allegation. Another one was sending a text to a female employee at ESPN in 2018 that read, "You look hot." A producer the woman showed the text to recalls her handshaking as she did so. Another one says, Fitting also denies jokingly asking for female employees' hotel room numbers and saying he'd be doing bed checks on them, but this reportedly happened on more than one occasion. Multiple sources said Fitting bragged about his sex life with his wife. Great, his wife, who's at home while he's on the road with ESPN and he's doing all this nefarious shit with other females. Awesome. Fitting would express his approval of women's outfits in ways women and other employees found crude or humiliating. The comments were allegedly so frequent, one female College Game Day staffer would pretend to take notes when he made them, and when Fitting asked what she was doing, she'd reply, "Oh, just jotting this down for the book." Women who worked for Fitting often felt pressured to go out for drinks and put up with inappropriate remarks, worried they'd be ostracized if they didn't. Fitting would justify making crude comments in front of women by saying, "It's okay, she's one of the guys." After one woman left College Game Day, he allegedly told a group of employees she was no fun. Multiple examples of Fitting critiquing female on-air talents and their appearances are given, while Fitting told The Athletic through a spokesperson that it was his job to provide such feedback. One woman said, "When someone doesn't think you can advance in your career because you don't check a box, that awareness can become an insecure. Gee, man, I mean, this sounds oddly like Vince McMahon's environment when he was there in WWE with John Laurinaitis and Bruce Pritchard and Kevin Dunn and everybody else that worked for him underneath Vince McMahon. This bled over to his production work, where Fitting directed his team to scan crowds for hot women to show on air, and had cheerleaders he deemed not attractive enough removed from shots. An employee, man, this guy would be fucking right in with Vince, man. An ESPN employee said she asked to meet with Fitting to discuss career opportunities on 3 occasions, and each time he asked to meet for drinks. She declined as other women at ESPN warned her not to meet with Fitting alone outside work. One woman said women had warned each other to be conscious of interactions with him. Fitting's spokesperson said such outside of work meetings with men and women were routine in his job. And after Fitting's dismissal, one of the women questioned during ESPN's investigation said it finally caught up to him. The Athletic summed up the 48-year-old Fitting's via spokesperson responses by saying he denied some of the allegations made against him while choosing not to address others, which means he's guilty. He declined to comment on the broader characterization of him as someone who mistreated women during his tenure at ESPN or why he was let go by the network. Fitting's work at WWE has been widely praised since January, and the company made sure its audience is aware of it by including his name along with Triple H, Paul Levesque, in the end credits for production when Raw and SmackDown go off the air. Regarding allegations against their production chief, a WWE spokesperson said to The Athletic that the company had no comment. Now, Janelle Grant's lawyers, they have responded by saying this: how can WWE claim they are committed to improving the company's culture and at the same time hire a man earlier this year who was accused of sexual misconduct and workplace harassment in his previous role? The allegations against Lee Fitting during his time at ESPN are extremely concerning. Revelations like this are why Janelle Grant's lawyers sent a letter to WWE and Endeavor urging them to release all current and former employees from their NDAs. The same old boys club who enabled Janelle Grant's abuse are continuing to put alleged predators in leadership roles, and this pattern must change once and for all. I don't really understand this situation. I don't. You know, in a normal environment, in a normal workplace, and this is a Nick Khan hire, by the way. Nick Khan has made some good hires. Nick Khan has made some bad hires. This news coming out does not make WWE look good in the midst of Vince McMahon still needing to wrap up his lawsuit with Janelle Grant. They have not done anything yet as the case is still delayed. So one guy goes out and then they bring in another who basically has all these allegations against him at the same time. How bad of a look is that? This is a Nick Khan hire. Nick Khan has a lot of ins with several sports entities because of who he is and where he previously worked. WWE wanted to go with a more sports-like presentation. Lee Fitting, after Kevin Dunn, fit the role, and he's done a great job since. The shows look better. The shows have a great sports feel to it, and he's done a great job. No more shaky cameras. No more fucking 28 camera cuts in 30 seconds that Kevin Dunn used to do. The show is obviously a lot better. What I don't understand is how a hire like this was made in the first place. Do they not cross-reference? Or was this hire simply done because he knew Nick Khan, and Nick Khan was doing this guy a favor, and Nick Khan wanted one of his boys in there? What does that say about Nick Khan? Does that say Nick Khan is partially guilty in the Vince McMahon scandal? Did he know what Vince McMahon was doing? Because if he hired Lee Fitting, I'm sure he was aware of what Lee Fitting was doing over the last 12 years. It's not like it was fucking 1 year, 2 years. 12 years of misconduct and 12 years of allegations. You mean to tell me you don't know a fucking thing about what this guy is doing and what type of person this guy is? Did they know? Why wasn't it cross-referenced? I don't really get it. There's a reason why LinkedIn and references are put on resumes. I don't really understand why nobody was given the heads up about what this guy was doing before he actually went and signed on with WWE. Now, it's either one of two things, and there's no in between. It's either WWE had no fucking idea what was going on with this guy, which I find very hard to believe. I do. Because that's just the nature of the sports industry and mixing men with women. I mean, they had to know something. They had to know something. They either knew what was going on or they didn't know what was going on. There's no in between. I don't really understand why this was allowed to get to this point. And now with WWE still in the midst of the Vince McMahon lawsuit and them obviously being monitored heavily by TKO and Ari Emanuel and all this other shit, and him being very vocal about not letting this happen, not letting this affect WWE or his business or his brand. They're going to Netflix. How does that look with WWE signing on a $5 billion deal with a new partnership in Netflix? You would think that everything is going great. And then WWE, no comment. Lee Fitting, no comment. They're not going to say anything now. Because if they say anything now, if Lee Fitting admits to any of this, if WWE gives a comment on it, then it's just going to present WWE in a way that they are at fault and they are guilty and they are wrong for hiring this guy, and WWE's never going to put themselves in that type of predicament. But I don't really understand why a move like this, a decision like this to hire somebody like this was made in the first place. Resumes exist with references. You mean to tell me nobody knew for 12 years what was going on? I find that very difficult to believe. So now what do we do here? Does he stay on board? Is WWE going to get any heat for keeping Lee Fitting on? Are they going to receive any pressure to get rid of him after all this shit? Now, I don't know what the process is. Does this go to a higher level? Does it go to a trial? Does it go somewhere along those lines? I don't know what's next. I don't know how WWE could live with this guy at the end of the fucking show on Monday and Friday with these allegations out there, putting his name right underneath Paul Levesque and Shawn Michaels for the executive producer role for Monday night and Friday night. I don't get it. What a bad fucking look, man. What a terrible fucking look. I don't believe that in January, WWE had no idea of all these things and hired him anyway. I just don't believe it. I don't believe Nick Khan was just oblivious to it. I don't think WWE was oblivious to it. They knew. Somebody knew there, and they went ahead and did it anyway, because at that point, when Kevin Dunn left, who else was there to fit that role for what they wanted to do moving on into the entirety of 2024? He was the best man for the job, and they probably looked at it, glossed it over, and said, this guy's right. This is the guy we want. He's going to take our brand to the next level. We don't give a shit what goes on, what he's done in the past. This is who we want. We're going to put him in there, and whatever comes, comes. It's a bad look. It's a very bad look for WWE after they are trying so desperately to become family friendly, get back into the good graces of people, move on from the Vince McMahon stink, and then there's another shit that's just fucking as smelly as the last one. Well, not as smelly as Vince's shit, pun intended, but just a bad look for WWE, man. I don't know what they do here, and it really opens up the eyes of who knew what was going on with Vince. If a decision like this was made to hire Lee Fitting and you have allegations spanning 12 years from multiple different women, dozens of women on Lee Fitting, not a good look for WWE. And I don't know what's to come for him in 2025. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let me know what you guys think about that down below. And the comment section is yours if you guys want to chime in to what you think about Lee Fitting and the WWE scandal. Anyway, thank you guys very much for all your support. If you guys did enjoy today's video and did enjoy this Christmas Eve episode of Off the Script, make sure you guys leave me a comment down below. Every comment helps us out in the algorithm. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Let's try for 1,000 likes. And I will see you back live tomorrow night, Christmas night. We got the Christmas Day edition of Dynamite. I don't know if I'll be live with Jesse, but regardless, I will be here on Wednesday night to give you guys a live stream of the show. And make sure you guys go check out all of the other content on the channel. There is plenty of it for the month of December. Thank you guys very much, and I will see you guys back here live for AEW Dynamite on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.